So welcome. This is all about Men's Mental Health Week. And today I decided this term Black excellence is often bandied about. And it's an increasingly popular term associated with many celebrities and often Black icons who've done particularly well. However, with everything in life, there's also a shadow side to that. What happens when we're not doing so well, when we don't have or feel that we can brag about what we're doing? In addition, what happens when we're sewing into a dream? As many of us may well be dream chasers, have visions that we want to manifest, but the numbers aren't necessarily reflecting of that. And we as individuals may also battle. So today we're going to be having a discussion with Jonathan, who specializes in working with teens, and Victor. Victor is a passionate podcaster. And I'm going to give you this moment to introduce yourself. I'll start with you, Jonathan.
Hi guys, my name's Jonathan Appiah. I'm in terms of profession, I'm a looked after care personal advisor. So I help coach teenagers, so young people from 16 up until the age of 25, so teenagers stroke adolescents really. I coach them into independence, young people who've come out of the care system. So I work alongside a social work team and various different agencies, being at probation, the housing department, mental health teams, sports and leisure teams, and things like that. Working up and down the country with about almost 30 young people. Currently, I'm also a therapeutic residential worker in a specialist children's home, dealing with young people affected by sort of sexual trauma, young males in particular.
Males affected by sexual trauma.
Yeah. And also I'm a teen life coach, so that's something I've started recently. Just trying to help the young people out there. That's it, really.
Yeah, superb. So that's your passion.
Yeah,
helping people
working with young people
to become their best self.
That's it.
Victor.
That's good, Jonathan. You're doing God's work. Is that not so key? Doing God's work. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's a good one. Yeah, I'm Victor Sio. I'm a podcast host of the Diaspora Entrepreneurs Podcast, and the podcast helps Africans and Caribbeans that are in the diaspora professionals who wants to move from the core 9 to 5 towards a lifestyle of freedom. So we help them from passion straight to profit. So that's what we do. And also I'm an entrepreneur, real estate and a little bit of this, little bit of that, but that's me there. I'm passionate about freedom. Yeah, passionate about freedom. Yeah.
So go for it, Jonathan.
No, I'm just taking it in. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. That's incredible what you do.
So this week is Men's Mental Health Week, and recently with Mizzy appearing on Newsnight, he is the young prankster who has been caught up in the media for his pranks that go viral, but also the problems that come with that. And I found it really interesting that he was been on a range of programs on the internet, but also I was really quite surprised to see him on Newsnight, and it just left me thinking about how many young Black men are doing incredibly positive things and don't get those platforms. I thought it was quite interesting that someone, behaving in that way gets such coverage. So what I'm curious about in terms of, it's almost like that word Black excellence. What does that mean to you? Do you think it's something you embody in your own lives? Is it something that you aspire to? And what's the opposite of excellence? It makes me think about the opposite, Black excellence, what's the opposite to that? Hand over to you.
See, let's not dwell on the opposite of Black excellence. Let's just go with with excellence, Black excellence.
Mm.
It is a term that is being used to celebrate, highlight outstanding achievements, success, contributions, of individuals that are in the Black community.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an idea that individuals within the African descent can excel in various fields. That is the bigger picture, breaking barriers. That is the bigger picture. Doing significant things. That is the bigger picture. But for me, Black excellence is what we live every day. It's an attitude. For me personally, it's an attitude.
Okay.
How we move, how we live our day-to-day life, how we interact, our communication, how we groom ourselves, the clothes we wear. This is Black excellence to me. Not. Yeah, it's great to celebrate these milestones, these huge achievements, but our everyday moves is Black excellence.
The journey.
Yeah.
The journey.
Mm-hmm.
And for you, Jonathan?
I think for me, Black excellence is it's a mindset, it's an attitude, it's a way to hold yourself. As a Black person that says that you're not going to go in anyone's pigeon. You're not going to be pigeonholed by anyone. You're not going to be even by those who look like you. You want to do the best that you can each day. You want to look to be where you can 1% better in different areas. You look to you look to keep pushing. You look to never give up. Keep the wheels turning in the direction that you want to go, and stand as what's possible, because people are watching you. You'd be surprised. You'd be one of the things learning from working with young people, and especially having 2 toddlers, is you'll be surprised what they watch, what they pick up, and what they believe as a result of seeing you operating well. So and
I totally understand in terms of, Victor, in terms of what you're talking about in terms of Black excellence. Forget about the opposite. I just had to have a little Google of what is the opposite to the word excellence. And I think you are right. There is something really important about acknowledging success, because as we've seen, when things don't go well, that is absolutely highlighted. And we know the mainstream media often portray Black males, particularly in a particular fashion, which can be particularly unhelpful. So I think that point about the importance of acknowledging successes, but also it's not always the goal. As you know, it's often about the journey. Because that striving to be better. And I know for my own journey, sometimes that results in yes, I've had my own business, but sometimes I've had to go back into part-time work in order to, for example, get my mortgage was something that I had to do. So on one hand, it might look like you're going backwards, but there's something really important about having to go back to surge forward at times. And I think that's also, something to, on the outside, it may look like one thing, but actually you've got a bigger vision and a bigger aim.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What was that, sir?
I said absolutely. You know the character you mentioned earlier on, Mizzy? Yeah, my kids were like on YouTube watching one day, and I'm like, who is this clown? That is not Black excellence. That is the opposite of it, because you can't be, and that is what the mainstream media wants to show us of what a typical teenager is, or typical young adult is. Because you can't be going, one of the things that he did was go to someone else's house, just walked into someone else's house, and that's not Black excellence at all. But the media will show you that every day, every single day, that this is what, and that's the reason why I started my podcast in the first place.
Say a bit more about that.
Yeah, because when I was watching the mainstream media, this was pre-COVID 2019, 2018. I think me and you were like always talking on Zoom every Saturdays or so like that. So when I saw that, I needed to see more Black success, small scale entrepreneurial
Yeah,
Black successful people. There was nowhere to be found. So I had to start like doing my own research, and I found there are loads of them everywhere.
absolutely.
There are hundreds of thousands of Black people that are successful in this United Kingdom.
Yeah,
If you don't look out for them, you won't find them. So there's Black excellence everywhere. I've interviewed you yourself. You are a typical example of Black excellence. I know your story, Kili. So your journey has been fantastic.
hmm,
Again, from IKEA, I remember that, you know,
hey,
yeah,
hey,
to
hey.
where you are right now. So I know that. So there are huge,
Yeah,
there's a bundle of Black excellent, Black successful people, entrepreneurs, professionals that are in the United Kingdom that can be flaunted
hmm,
as Black excellence,
hmm,
not the opposite side where they want to like the cliche. Not just,
absolutely.
yeah.
And I think that's one of the blessings that in this time we have social, media where we can create our own narrative, you know, rather than it's not like back in the day where you were just subjected to what was on the main five channels. The game has definitely shifted, and I think that's so important. But one of the things I'm also curious about in terms of like Men's Mental Health Week is how holding ourselves up to certain high standards, or like for yourself, Victor, you do a podcast, and we might not be making the millions of views, and there's such a focus on metrics. Often that can make you feel inadequate. I know for me, many a times when I was deliberately trying to grow my YouTube, I found that incredibly frustrating. Like, I'm tagging, I'm doing everything they said I should. How can I've not gone viral yet? Right. And so I kind of moved away from focusing on that and just knowing what I do, the support I provide for people, the changes that I see is one way that I've helped to validate myself, not just from a numerical sense.
Mhm.
But in terms of men's mental health, because excellence always reminds me of holding ourselves up to a high standard, reminds me of perfectionism. And there's always a shadow side. And that's what I'm always curious in terms of how that may shape and impact on mental health. And maybe, Jonathan, you could say something about what you observe in young people and mental health challenges.
Young people, and I think especially men, it's 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 being able to be open about it. It's being able to be open. A lot of the young people are talk, especially as the lads will start talking about it. Then I'm like, no, I'll be okay, or I'll. There's a real stigma against looking for some of the young people for looking for sort of traditional therapeutic ways to traditional therapy as a way to work on mental health. But what I have seen as well, and this is I guess I guess is young people being creative, is young people doing things therapeutically. So when we're working with a young person, making sure that they've got things to let the steam off the valve.
Yeah.
Is there something that's missing from your life that's adding to the mental health difficulty? Can you be playing more football? Is there someone who when you go boxing, is there someone who you can talk to? You'll be surprised the amount of
Absolutely.
things that these young men do in groups where they let off steam and then start to talk about their mental health. So it's things like that. Have you been out in nature? Have you been out walking? I know there's been, with regards to mental health, there's been an explosion. Well, you saw a big explosion during COVID of people going hiking, especially black men, getting together, going hiking, walk and talk, barbers
Mhm.
being set up where you go in and they've got therapeutically trained barbers. I mean, how
Wow.
good would it be in our black barber shops to have therapeutically trained barbers. The amount of the amount of serious things I've heard talked about in barbershop, sort of things like that. So it is a challenge for young men. What I find often with young men, and as I say, I'm no therapist. I'm just using observation from the work that I do, is working with young people young men, especially therapeutically, when you've got a mission. So yeah, stuff like doing sports, stuff like doing an activity, stuff like going for a drive, stuff like building something, and then talking and then touching on those those points of mental health. Men need mission. That's what I've seen. Men, especially young men, need mission, vision, and one you get alongside when they're doing that. I mean, you'll be surprised what you get told. Takes me back to when I was in youth offending, back in the days doing reparation. Sometimes young men, it's unreal what they would say, when you're sort of digging out an allotment. But it's having a mission, having a vision, and then coming alongside them. I found has been particularly helpful, and that's something that I've seen can help young men talk about feelings and mental health and start to be open.
Beautiful, because I think one of the things you said is like shifting away from the traditional therapeutic role, which may not always sit well with young people. Like, let's sit in this little closed room and talk about the most difficult things that's happened to your life, right? It's not always going to go down well. And especially culturally competent therapists as well, like that also adds a weight, which can also be incredibly helpful. But like you said, man needs a mission. And I think that's really beautiful, because that kind of seeps into purpose and having meaning in your life, which actually moves away from the traditional mental health model. Doesn't talk about purpose and having meaning in your life, right? So the kind of traditional mental health medicalized model comes from the deficits of the human organism. So you've not got this, you need chemicals for this, you need to have, you're classified, and if you're labeled and diagnosed, and in some states there is space for that, but there will always be usually a drug to complement that. But actually what you're highlighting, and there is so many ways to help and assist in non-traditional ways where you circumnavigate that and you build rapport, connection. Somebody realizes that they've got a skill or an interest, and that in itself has the potential to be transformational. And I think that's it's one of the reasons I work independently, because I found it very difficult to come from this deficits model of the human organism when there is so much potential. Let's focus on potential, let's create opportunities. Interestingly, I also worked in prisons, and you see that actually men do really well with leadership. Other men to lead them, it was a very female dominated place, and that mother-son dynamic is always, there's a friction there. And I always believe education, absolutely, like men need men too. People may find that uncomfortable, but men, especially when absent fatherhood is a real challenge. That external focus, that external father figure is actually, as I was saying this, I was a bit reluctant to say it, but it makes me think about the Mike Tyson documentary that I saw, and when he started boxing, I think it was I don't know what his name was, but he had someone who discovered him, took him under his wing. That became his father figure. Yes, and I know all the other stuff that happened, but that symbolically, which taps into what man needs a mission.
Yeah, absolutely. Man needs a vision. I'll second that. And I was taught that would do. See, I'm a Christian anyway, so the Bible says, in Proverbs says, my people die because of a lack of vision. People die for lack of vision. Again, so men need more men, Keely. to lead.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Facts,
men need
facts.
more men to lead.
Facts.
During COVID, I did a certification program for mental strength programming, the coaching program, mental strength programming. Remember that, kid? Yeah. So one of the reasons why, because key, when you mention excellence is way up here, and it's something that we need to keep striving towards. I don't think so. The excellence is way up there. I think excellence should be, our excellence comes from our values system, So it's not something that is very extreme from us. It should be something that's within us to like keep pushing us. So our value systems, when we know our value system, we know the level that we want to play at. That is where that defines how we move. And also lately, I'm reading a book by is it Dan Sullivan also about the gap and the gain. So where people fall into this pressure of not meeting up. But when you know your value system, when you know yourself, you kind of measure backwards. The last 30 days, the last 90 days. If you're feeling like crap, just measure the last 1 year, the last 3 years. What have you done? What have you gained? What knowledge? What skill? So if you look backward, you see that you have so much. You've been striving, you've been so excellent. It's just that you've not been like highlighting them or reminding yourself that you are working on excellence every day. So when Black people and mental health, I think the pressure is just, sometimes the pressure is too much. The pressure is real.
Hey, struggle is real.
The pressure is real. Before, as a Nigerian man, I'll tell you what is depression. I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
But going about speaking to one or two, depression is there.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes I feel, how did you box yourself like this? That you're feeling so overwhelmed. You need to start decompressing, speak to psychotherapists like you. I sometimes when I get, stuck, 11 o'clock, key, where are you? Let's just have that simple conversation.
Yeah. Cruising your circle.
Yeah, that simple conversation. That is something that has really helped me. And that has put some stuff into perspective for me.
Absolutely. But I think you are right about, who do you reach out to, and just to highlight that, like you say, culturally, depression, that wasn't, it's not there's not even a word for it, babies, essentially in your mother tongue, right, back home, right? So culturally there can be challenges around that with Western and non-Western, psychologies. And if that is the case for people, that can be particularly understandable. And that's where things like the Samaritans, if you are based in the UK, there are agencies that you can reach out to, people that you can talk to. But personally, I do believe having purpose and meaning in your life is a wonderful protective factor. And I was also left with the notion of, excellence, Black excellence. Today I got up, I went for a walk, and I went to the gym. By 9 o'clock, I was done. Sometimes we're always looking at the bigger picture, but what is actually happening on small scales that you can acknowledge within yourself to big yourself up? I think that's also a fundamental aspect, because this is how the journey can become, things can feel so insurmountable. And that's the power of small wins, small successes, small triumphs. Jonathan, I welcome any thoughts that you might have at this particular time.
I'm just taking it in what you said about small wins, and in particular, Victor, what you said about the accumulation of what you've done over the past 3 years, and how helpful that can be. Well, I have it, but I need to fill it up. I've got a little, actually a win jar, so I can put my wins in things that I've got.
Oh, okay.
I feel I've got right in 2023. Of course, part of the work I've got to do myself is using it consistently, because I've been procrastinating on that. But
yeah,
it's that.
What do you call it? A win jar.
Yeah, win jar. It's just a little jar, little glass jar.
hold it in front of your chest.
Then you can
your background is.
Oh, sorry, it's too strong. Okay, hang on.
Yeah.
Let me put some light.
If you just put it on your top, there you that is beautiful.
Okay.
So and this is something I want to start using with my young people more, just as a private thing to, let's go through your pathway plan. Let's go talk about the year, and let's talk about what you feel you got right. You did this. You moved here. You helped so and so. You were this person had this to say about you, which was really, really nice. What I learned. Go ahead.
I'm so sorry to cut you.
No, go ahead.
Especially for the young people you work with, they can be far much more comfortable with negative than the positive.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny you say that. Some of the old school training on attachment and around fostering it is that to help build a child up, you need to use 5 times the amount of compliments as rebukes. Now, so say we take that to ourselves and how we experience self-talk day to day. Am I bigging myself up 5 times as much as rebuking? No, I'm like, I'm disorganized. I haven't done this right. I'm behind in this paperwork. For goodness sake, this case is going left. This guy's going to end up homeless.
Yeah.
So like, how useful is that to then apply to yourself every day? To encourage yourself and to build up your mental health, your resilience. I love that idea, Victor. Looking back and counting the wins. I love it.
Absolutely.
So how much more would that be for a person's mental health? So not just in terms of achievements, but what you say about those achievements, and what you say about your characters relates to those wins.
Absolutely. And I think that's a beautiful visual reflection, and you take a moment out to just ponder. I think I want one. I'm gonna go downstairs and get a jar. I want one for myself, because it's sometimes it's not about the good days. It's about the days when it's really hard.
Yeah.
And you feel like giving up. The money might be low, your motivation's low, things haven't worked out how you planned. That visual reflection tool there is a really powerful way to just remind yourself of how far you have come. Victor.
Yeah, I see. You got this. Not as wonderful as that, but what helps as well, the 90-day thing. 90 days.
Brilliant.
What's the 90-day thing?
Oh, it's a 90-day productivity planner. 90 days. So you carve them 90 days, it is easier, and you deal with the bad days straight up.
Right.
Yeah. So at the end of the week, you look at, that was not a good day. Okay, yeah, let's move on.
Beautiful. Let me know where you get that 90-day planner from, because planning is not my strength. I'm more of a throw me in there and I can roll with it, but actually planning is not.
So
yeah, it's just 90 days. What's going to happen in the next 90 days? So let's take it. You have the vision, you have the goal. 90 days. Let's go. So this is every page here is Black excellence.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because that is the journey that I'm taking, the journey that I'm taking. So some days I might fall short, but what was supposed to take
Yeah,
in the Bible, what was supposed to take Hebrews about 40 days or so, took them 40 years.
absolutely.
Yeah, and they were all working in excellence. So again,
Absolutely.
so Black
And
excellence is an attitude.
I guess what you're also talking about is the importance of delayed gratification.
Oof, absolutely.
Yeah. Especially in
Uh,
the times now where if you want a pizza, it can be at your door in 20 minutes, right?
mm,
Thought it, bought it at your door. And actually this is about the journey,
yeah,
you know.
that is one of earlier on you mentioned when we had the 4 channels on TV or the 5 channels on TV, but now we have multiple ways that they can reach us so that we can listen to, that we can plug into.
Mhm.
So the pressure comes from everywhere. Social
So,
media, which is the biggest funnel right now for things to hit you and swerve you off your path. And you start measuring, Someone else's, someone's success that you see overnight. Most of them, they've been doing it for like 10, 15 years. And you want to like just, because you saw it, the blink just now, you think that you can just, no, it doesn't work that way. You need to
absolutely,
daily grind, daily excellence.
absolutely, absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely. Totally agree.
daily excellence.
Yeah. And what does it mean to you? And I think that's what it is also about. What does it mean for you? How do you overcome, the ways? I've got this beautiful book here, wonderful book on the power of habits. And actually, I guess I know that there's a kind of, this is Men's Mental Health Week, but if you want to change your behavior, if you want change, you have to start with your habits. It's all in your habits. Often a lack of routine, a lack of focus, but also, as we know, Victor, you and our relationship, the importance of having accountability.
Mm-hmm.
That
Mm-hmm.
importance of having accountability is so fundamental. And yeah, you do keep, for us, when we first met, I was in my job full time and started this one day a week. Then it grew, it took time to grow. And,
How,
Jonathan,
how
I'm
long
not
have you been
sure,
doing this, Naki? How long?
this is my 11th year.
Ha ha. You see,
Absolutely.
and you're still finding out that you still need to do there's some stuff that where there's places that you need to be. You've not even scratched the surface yet.
Absolutely. Well, I've got to the point where now, I know that to grow, I have to sit down and plan. I have to be able to do that. And that's not my natural way. I'm more of you can probably tell by this talk we're having, I'm more of a just throw me in there and I'll swim. But actually, I have to be more strategic. I'm more operational in the business. I'm starting to get the lingo, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think one of the benefits, and Jonathan, I've also looked at your website. Jonathan also dances as well, and taught dancing. How do there's so many skills that you might have that can also be monetized, but how actually having a vision and a purpose for your life can be an inoculation to common mental health problems. I'm not saying I don't have bad days or bad periods, when things aren't going so well, but actually support, knowing that I can tap into people, it is fundamental.
Mm.
And having vision and purpose is also a fundamental factor for mental health that doesn't come up in the mainstream. Doesn't come up in mainstream when they're often talking about all anxiety. Because what I notice nowadays more so is people embrace that as a part of their identity. Oh, well, that's my anxiety. And I'm thinking, well, like, do you want that to be a part of your personality? Because often so many mental health problems actually are trauma based. It actually comes from trauma, often in our younger years, that hasn't been addressed. And actually, as much as the government promotes doing this mental health thing, they've provided no more services. There's been a cut in services, and there isn't the trauma treatment is just not available. a lot of people have been traumatized, and actually they need support because it's the nervous system. And your nervous system works involuntary. And this is the challenge with positive psychology, especially if you've been traumatized. You can read all your affirmations all the time, but if your nervous system, because of the way that you've been raised in traumatic environments, if that isn't being addressed, it can limit your growth. Jonathan, you probably know a lot more about that, being that you're working with people in the care system.
No, I agree with you 100%, man. I agree 100% on that. I call it the inner enemy, man. So that sort of self-sabotage that you see with young people. Unfortunately, yeah, you're very right. It's sad that a lot of us have to be taught to be trauma informed and go on attachment sort of attachment training and things like that, but because of the lack of access to mental health
Absolutely.
services. But
well, you see the lack. There isn't lack, because, for example, most qualified, experienced therapists end up having to go into private practice. We're here.
okay.
They don't want to pay. So there isn't a lack. It's just that we're not going to be paid appropriately for our sacrifice. Because training is not free. Getting a degree, a master's isn't free. Having supervision isn't free.
Clinical supervision, free,
right? So it comes at a cost, and they don't want to pay. There is an abundance of therapists who would happily work with your client group. They don't want to pay. Right, so there's some, in my view, there's lip service as well to some of that. So we're talking about Black excellence. This is also inspired by Men's Mental Health Week. Before we close, I'm just curious about some of the ways you guys may sabotage your own success, because if we're talking Black excellence, the shadow of that is self-sabotage, which is a massive issue for, I believe, every human being. One of the ways that we can hinder our own growth for many reasons, but how you may overcome that yourselves and what tips you might have for other people.
Oh, for me, fear, fear sometimes.
Yeah. What might manifest itself in terms of the one ways that you sabotage yourself, sabotage your own growth?
That's what I'm saying. Fear sometimes, because it's hard to say, but fear of the bigger picture of unleashed potential. That fear is still there. Yeah, and the fear and the daily fear of resistance. Daily fear of resistance. Would they say no? Would they say no? The fear of hearing no. If I ask, would they say no?
Yeah.
Should I make the call now? So it's taking action. Why are we not taking action? Because with the fear of hearing negative, getting a negative response. To me, that is one of the biggest. The fear of getting embarrassed. Yeah. We don't want to, as a man, we don't want to let me just maintain myself. I don't want to come out and I have my pride, I have my dignity. I don't want to come out with the wrong foot or say the wrong thing. So it's better I just keep shut.
It's very interesting, because therapy with men is very different from women, because with women, I can openly talk about vulnerability. With men, you just shut them down immediately if you go directly in. One of the words I tend to use is, let's talk about your stressings. Stressing, is a really beautiful way in.
That's a trigger.
Yeah, because it's like,
definitely.
man ain't vulnerable.
No, very for what? We see we're made of steel, iron man, made
You're
of steel. But
harder,
when you
man.
come on this, when you come up with the stresses, where your stress is, man,
And men,
I can go all day.
and there you go. And men are statistically overrepresented in suicide, right? Because that ego often results in men not asking for help, often trying to solve problems. You know, I think about that time when you first called and we connected. Like, I think, Victor, that was a really beautiful moment, because I always feel so privileged when people reach out when they're in a tricky space, because if you can get over your fear of, well, they'll think this, and take action, you just have no idea.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I think one of the biggest challenges for men is about vulnerability. And that's often, heightened by alpha being an alpha male. And when you look at Black men in the alpha male role, and what's often they're exposed to, that can make that really tricky to be able to express that. I think that's what I love about the diary of the CEO, is actually he's really open and talks about attachment, how people started their journey. I found it quite beautiful to watch that interaction with men, talking to men about how they feel. I think there's something really, their younger years, and how they've become who they've become, but how they, the difficult situations they've been through has shaped them. So thank you for that sharing about self-sabotage. Jonathan, I hope you've been thinking about that in your own head. What are the ways you sabotage yourself?
Oh man.
It's a real
So
one.
many. But oh man, inner
What
enemy's
stands
a
out to
beast.
you the most?
Procrastination. Procrastination.
The thief.
And
That's the thief.
yeah,
That's the thief.
exactly, bro. Exactly.
Thief of
And
dreams.
yeah, it's a problem
habits.
for me, I think. Yeah. I've actually got that book. I haven't got around to reading. It's on my bookshelf.
Go for audio, bro.
You
can listen on the go.
I think, yeah, procrastination, self-doubt, man. It's hard. It's really hard to say this, but yeah, self-doubt. It's ridiculous. I mean, I've got like 20 years working with young people now, and you think, and you just think, why am I having that thought? Why, why am I thinking like that?
I'm assuming that's about launching your own business, your own vision.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm pushing as hard as I can, because I know that people need, I know that people need that support, and I've shown that I can get results.
Absolutely.
100% so far, but yeah, it's that inner enemy, that self-doubt to put it out there. It's almost, it's strange. It's like, okay, I can put it out there for someone else, for the guys around me, for my dance team. Yeah, I can dance it. Yeah. Okay, I'm shy to market in front of 10,000 people, but I can dance in front of 10,000 people, and I've done so. There's no logic to it. There's no logic to it.
So if there's no logic, it means it's psychological, emotional. And that's the beauty of community. That's the beauty of accountability. That's the beauty of putting dates down in your diary. And also, we also have to be mindful of self-compassion as well, because that's often something that shows up frequently, a lack of self-compassion. We can be quite brutal with ourselves,
Yeah.
And
why is it that? Why am I like this? Why am I, them type of conversations.
Absolutely. And that's that negative voice that kicks off, that goes on and on. And sometimes one of my clients once said to me, in the days where we watch Netflix, and it can be very difficult to commit to watch one thing, because you start and you think, oh, this is rubbish, I'll switch to the other. Commitment can be very tricky. Commit to one thing. Get accountability. Get community. Commit, community, accountability. So with that said, I wanna take this opportunity to thank you for our discussion around Black excellence, mental health, Black men, and any closing thoughts that you may have, I would gladly welcome. Or words of encouragement.
I'll say Black excellence is to inspire, it's to motivate future generations, which is fostering a sense of pride and empowerment for Black people, Black youths out there. So it is something that we should use. It's the attitude that we need to use to inspire the next generation, the future generation. So Jonathan, get that business started. I'm a Diaspora Entrepreneurs podcast host, so get that business started. And let's talk about it on our show. Come up with your excellence and let's go. Come talk about your passion with us.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much, brother.
Yeah.
I'm
and why on this segue, anyways, why Black excellence on a week? No, not Black excellence. Men's mental health week on a Father's Day weekend. Why?
That's true.
Why?
Well, maybe somebody never thought it through. Who knows?
Absolutely. They should think about this next time before they start tagging weeks.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I've seen this men's mental health. What I've seen is a really massive problem. I've seen it on Facebook. There's a Facebook group set up by Daniel O'Reilly, who was one of these sort of Essex comedians who got cancelled for a rude joke, but he's come out as struggling with depression and ADHD and things like that. And he started just a group last year to men with their mental health, and it exploded. I think in the first week there was something stupid like 6,000 to 8,000 people joined it, and it's so revealing. It's got mates, men and their emotions. Just a brilliant name. He's got a podcast as well on sobriety, Menace to Sobriety, I think. And it's just so refreshing. You hear so many guys talking about difficulties, and then you see other men encouraging them, man, and it's unbelievable. You see guys reaching out there. Many times I've been on there, I see guys say, right, I've had enough, guys. I'm out of here today. I'm gone. I'll keep messing up, blah, blah, blah. And then guys are helping, reaching out. Guys are like, struggling, homeless. Guys say, what, where are you? I've got a right. If you're in this region, I've got a labouring job. I've got 5 days here.
Beautiful.
Get in my inbox. This is what the internet can do. This is what I'm seeing. It starts to lift my spirit, man. It starts to lift my spirit because I work with mainly women, and it's how they relate to each other, and sometimes to men. You as a fellow, sometimes you think like no one really like checks on how we're feeling. Like no one really. They expect us to be strong, hardened, all the time.
But we should be strong.
Yeah.
Victor, I know you're a motherland man.
We should be.
You see, this is the cultural challenges, right?
Yeah.
And yes, we should be strong, right? But there's also a shadow side to potential strongness, which means that if people constantly suppress and push down their vulnerability, they become
it's not really pushing down.
Yeah, it's right. I mean, in terms of strength, I am still strong. Obviously, I'm dealing with, and in the past, I've dealt with sort of medium to high risk offenders, a serious level, managing them. But you get sometimes, when in being strong, you pick up things. You pick up a little bit of secondary trauma. You pick up, a shorter temper and things like that, and you realise some of those little things that you pick up are indicative of, like sometimes with men we're quick to anger when we're sometimes it's a fear in us or vulnerability or something that's
hurt.
a trauma, and hurt. very, you know, and that's something you see perpetrated in culture. Yeah, no, I'm a bad man. No. A bunch of angry guys. I see hurt guys when I see that. When I'm in prison, I see hurt guys.
Sorry, I'm not going that route of being an angry man or like someone who's gonna hurt someone. Yeah, but what I mean, we should be strong because on my background, when if I go back home sometimes and I see men sit down, we just come. When we come together, hey, man, yesterday was really, really nice. I'm like, okay, listen. You all have 5 minutes to say the nasty stuff. Just 5 minutes. And you see men start, okay, time's up. Now let's move. And you see all those things gone.
Well, I guess culturally they say Nigerians are running on a different fuel system.
My wife is Nigerian. They are
gone.
They are.
They're not. Yeah, my wife's Nigerian. Nigerians are. I agree. I agree. They are most resilient guys I've ever come across.
Would you mean in terms of determination, focus?
Yeah. Bounce back ability.
Yeah.
Bounce back ability.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and by the time you walk home, you're good. That's why walking is good. Walking, exercise, you know, it's good.
True.
Absolutely.
True.
All right, well, I just want to take this opportunity to thank you all for your time, your energy, your thoughts, your laughter, our banter. And I would love to get those links. Feel free to send me over those links. I'll add them to the description and share them with other people, because I'd love to check that out, because I know so many clients I work with, and I don't always have places where I would refer them, where I feel comfortable to refer them to. But what you've mentioned in terms of that Facebook group sounds like a wonderful community. All right, Jonathan, thank you. And Mr. Victor, thank you for your time.
Thanks so much.
All right, then speak to you guys soon. Bye.
See you soon. Cheers. Thank you.